Every 2 minutes, a woman dies while giving life. The leading cause is excessive bleeding after childbirth, known as postpartum hemorrhage. Each year, 14 million women experience it. 70,000 never return home to their families. On paper, it is measured in capacity, half a liter, 1 liter. In reality, it is that bottle of water or soda you just drank. If a mother loses the same amount in blood, her life hangs in the balance. More than 80% of these deaths happen in low and middle income countries, especially in sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia. Here in Kenya, these are not just numbers. These are mothers, sisters, daughters, women whose stories we rarely hear. But today, we will listen. We meet Mary Wangari, a 32-year-old mother of 3. At first glance, she's like so many women, hanging clothes, cleaning around her home, her face lit with a smile. But behind that smile is a story few can see, a story of survival, of loss, and of the silent pain carried long after childbirth. Mary knows postpartum hemorrhage not as a statistic, but as a lived reality. And today, she lets us into her reality.
I got my firstborn in 2012. During labor, my mom took me to the hospital because I was still young then. After delivery, I bled excessively. That was my first experience with postpartum hemorrhage. For my secondborn, the story was almost the same. I went through obstructed labor and had to undergo an emergency cesarean section. After the surgery, I bled heavily again. My third pregnancy was in 2019. I had booked a cesarean section for December 7, but I never made it to that day. One night, I went to sleep and woke up feeling unwell and in labor. By the time I got to the hospital, my condition was dire, but I was told the theaters were full. I stayed a full day without being attended to, even as my condition worsened. I asked for a transfer, but at first they refused. My mom came, and together we left without any referral or permission from the doctors. At the second hospital, I was rushed straight into theater. Once again, I was bleeding excessively. This time, unlike before, I lost my baby. All those times, I did not know what was happening to me. I was never told anything about postpartum hemorrhage, not during antenatal care, not after delivery. I feel like the health system was dismissive of me, and I only began to understand after I had lost my baby.
3 times, Mary went through postpartum hemorrhage. 3 times, she bled until her life and her baby's life hung by a thread. And yet, in all those moments, she never knew what it was called.
Message yenye mimi naweza pea watu at my own community na places zingine. First, kumenta madem wakiwa na ball, ndo naambia mtu signs za PPH cause wengi hawako wanajua. So ingekuwa poa kama wangekuwa na hiyo clue na hiyo idea what is PPH, the symptoms, itakuwa sawa. Tutakuwa na hizo cases za PPH tena.
Not far from where Wangari lives is Sylvia Ongachi. She was only 17 years old when she became pregnant. She did everything right, attended all antenatal care visits, took her supplements, and followed every instruction given. Yet, when the time came to give birth, Sylvia still faced the same danger: excessive bleeding.
When the labor pains came, I went to the hospital and delivered normally. I was told to go and rest on the ward bed, but the moment I stood up, I felt dizzy and weak. I needed help just to get to the bed. Within minutes, there was so much blood on the sheets and the bed around me. I told the doctor that the bleeding was not normal, even though I didn't really know what normal was. But this was too much. He told me to go to the maternity ward. When I tried to stand again, I collapsed. The next thing I remember was waking up in the ward. When I asked the doctor what had happened, He told me it was because there was still dirt left in my womb, but he never explained what the bleeding really meant. No one told me about postpartum hemorrhage. I only came to know about the name PPH much later.
Adolescent mothers like Sylvia are especially vulnerable. Globally, girls under the age of 20 face a significantly higher risk of dying from postpartum hemorrhage compared to older women. Their young age, limited access to information, and the stigma surrounding teenage pregnancy often mean their voices go unheard, even when their lives are at risk. And when the bleeding stops, another wound remains: the mental trauma, the fear, the silence, and the weight of an experience no one explained to them.
Now I know that giving birth is truly a matter of life and death.
Unaona, kama mtu akienda maternity clinic wangekuwa natupatia information na hizo za PPH nini, at least mingi nisaidia akili. So na vina mimi sikupata information, ndo maana ilitocha akili yangu that time.
For many women living in rural and informal settlements, the first person they turn to during pregnancy and childbirth is not a doctor or a nurse. It is the community health promoter. They are the bridge between women and the health system. But what happens when even they do not know what postpartum hemorrhage is?
As a community health promoter, I have only ever seen one woman bleed heavily during childbirth. To me, I didn't know this condition had a name or it could be deadly. I have never been taught how to recognize or respond to postpartum hemorrhage. At the grassroots, women also do not know that too much bleeding after childbirth is dangerous. We often just assume that blood loss is normal, but we don't know how much is too much. If we could be trained and given clear knowledge, we would not only understand it ourselves, but also teach women in our communities how to recognize the danger and seek help quickly.
Mwanamke mwenye ako mashinani achui hiyo akiplead ni dangerous. Sasa ingefaa serikali watufundishe sisi jinsi ya kuona, kwa sababu lakini sisi tukifundishwa na kupata mafundisho tutaenda kwa fundisha hao mashinani.
For midwives like Kiplagat, who work every day in rural health facilities, the challenges around postpartum hemorrhage are painfully familiar. He sees firsthand how this leading killer of mothers takes lives that could have been saved.
Okay, like now what we face, like from the community, there is a problem in the community with the transport system. The terrain, that is the roads, and also the availability maybe of the vehicles, and also the finance. They lack finance to hire the vehicle, and now they arrive in the facility when they are in a late stage. And in the facility, okay, there's a shortage of drugs, a shortage of staff, because you find a case like PPH, it needs an agency and it needs cooperation with other staffs. One personnel cannot manage very well. So there's a shortage of staff, which is a very big challenge in that case of managing that PPH.
No woman should lose her life while giving life. Yet, postpartum hemorrhage continues to steal our mothers, our daughters, and our sisters in silence. Too many women like Mary and Sylvia have faced it without knowing what it was, without the information or the care they deserved, and without the mental health support they needed afterwards. At the grassroots, even community health promoters, the first point of contact for women, lack the training to recognize and respond. Midwives like Edward work with limited resources, watching preventable deaths unfold. This is not just a failure of systems, it is a failure to listen. The call is clear. Women want information, they want dignity, they want care that saves lives, care that serves them holistically. Governments and health leaders must act by ensuring every woman knows their risks, every community health promoter is trained, every health worker is equipped, and transport to health facilities is available. It is not only about what happens at the point of care, but also about how women reach the point of care. When we think about solutions, they must be holistic, shaped by the voices of people like Wangari, Sylvia, Catherine, and Edward leading the way. Postpartum hemorrhage is preventable. The time to act is now.